Piers Morgan exposed the hypocrisy of this delusional woke activist.
I'm a white, straight male, so I'm a racist, sexist, homophobe, by your logic.
Sexist, yes. But
I'm not sexist, and I'm not racist, and I'm not a homophobe. Who are you to say that every straight white guy in the world is a... Well, you did. You said white people are racist due to socialization in the same way that men are socialized to be sexist, heterosexual people are socialized to be homophobic. You are calling straight white guys like me a series of offensive, stereotypical labels, which I find very offensive.
Okay. This is why there's a problem, because you're taking it personally.
There is a problem. I am taking it personally. Yes.
It isn't about
when you say all white people are racist, as a white person, I find that offensive.
Instead of taking it personally, please think about how to be part of the solution.
Why don't you think about being part of the solution?
I am part of the solution.
You're not. You're causing more division.
I'm not.
By telling all white people they're racist.
Piers Morgan exposed the contradictions of a delusional woke activist who labeled him, a straight white male, as a racist, sexist and homophobe. The activist claimed that white people are inherently racist due to socialization, just as men are socialized to be sexist and heterosexuals to be homophobic.
Do you think that selling your nudes online and do you think the money that you make from that translates to any sort of intelligence or skill, or do you accept the fact that you have no skill and maybe lack a lot of intelligence, which is why you had to go down that path?
That is not why I had to go down that path. I have a degree.
A degree in what?
Philosophy. You
could have become a very well-respected lawyer, had a good career. What do you think your kids are gonna think when they said, oh, my mom had two options? They could have been a philosopher and a lawyer who made a lot of money, but they decided to be an online whore for 2 years, and then when they got ugly, now nobody wants to hire them anymore because they ruined their name and their reputation.
A 15-year-old boy challenges feminists on a panel by questioning the value and intelligence behind selling explicit content online. He suggests that pursuing education or a respectable career would be more meaningful. His blunt remarks leave the feminists speechless, particularly when he questions how such choices might affect their future children.
What were some of the things you were told about men while growing up?
Don't trust them. Yeah, I agree with that one.
What is the most surprising thing you've learned about men from your experiences?
You can't trust them. Facts.
Do you prefer a man who is a gentleman or a bad boy?
Bad boy. Bad boy.
Is it fair to say women lust after bad boys but want to settle down with nice guys?
Yeah.
If you happen to be looking for a quality man, where would you expect to find one?
A quality man? Church. Yes, that's...
When was the last time you went to church?
Two woke feminists reveal their biased views on men, emphasizing distrust and preference for bad boys. They admit women lust after bad boys, but want to settle down with nice guys. Ironically, when asked about finding a quality man at church, one admits she hasn't been to church in a while, exposing their contradictions.
What should I call myself, sir?
I think you should call yourself whatever you feel comfortable with, but as a person...
He calls himself a dwarf.
Well, that's great.
A dwarf.
Good for you. I'm happy.
So now, sir, let me pause that. So it shouldn't be called Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
Listen,
just be
I do not want to get
cancelled
because I think your point of view is more important than mine right now. But what I'm annoyed about is Piers trying to take a cheap shot at someone that believes in society moving forward.
Yeah, I'm actually exposing the hypocrisy of the woke mentality of only gay people can play gay parts, only trans actors can play trans parts, and so on and so on and so on.
I think we will get to a place where everyone can play
Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs has to be cancelled because you're not allowed to have dwarf actors.
In an exchange, Piers Morgan dismantles the woke mentality by highlighting its contradictions. He challenges the idea that only certain people can play specific roles, criticizing the cancellation of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Morgan exposes the hypocrisy in prioritizing identity over talent.
Check out this video. This is from the Dr. Phil show. It's a 5th grade teacher. So he's just a 5th grade teacher, this guy, trying to explain basic biology to several trans activists.
5th grade teacher calmly challenges transgender activists by asserting basic biological facts about gender, leaving the audience speechless.
Well, I don't accept that distinction. You have to argue for it. You're just giving a conclusion. You just make...
I have to say, that's the 3rd time I've watched that video today, and that teacher, Ray, can we find him? I'd love to have him on, because what a calm decent explainer of the truth. And it's funny, I always say this thing about how when you're telling the truth, you don't have to be screaming, and you can sort of tell it in people's body languages because you can just communicate it honestly without being hysterical and everything. Even the way he's kind of sitting there, like, well, you guys have come to the conclusion. It's not reality, but you've come to that conclusion, not based on solid arguments or science. I love how she's suddenly for science. Yeah, right, science, okay, fine. We got to get that guy on the show. I think he'd be an and he's just a 5th grade teacher who's putting his butt on the line to do that, because I have no doubt that he's getting a ton of hate on that. But good for Dr. Phil to even have that, be willing to have that conversation. And I just want to say one other thing on this before we move on to the next clip. If you're a dude and your vagina's bleeding, you've got a problem, okay? Clip that and send it around the internet.
He emphasizes that only women menstruate regardless of gender identity and argues that truth should not be compromised by societal pressures. His straightforward explanations highlight the divide between scientific reality and modern gender ideology. Trans professor challenges Matt Walsh on why he cares so much about transgender issues, questioning the importance of teaching gender identity in schools, concern for children's well-being and protecting women's rights, asserting that conflating biological sex with gender identity is misleading and harmful.
There was a clip that went viral. I wanted to play it all week and we got distracted with some other things, but it's a really, really fascinating clip. Patrick Bet-David, who is a finance guy and has a really fantastic podcast, he had Neil deGrasse Tyson on. And Neil deGrasse Tyson is, I guess, what we would call a science communicator. He goes on Bill Maher all the time. He's a sort of darling of the mainstream media to explain science to people, sort of in the Bill Nye the Science Guy mold. And he talks about physics and astronomy and a whole bunch more. He's sort of a modern day Carl Sagan kind of thing. And he went on Patrick's podcast and they started talking about vaccines and efficacy and personal responsibility. And it's a really, really great moment here. The clip's about a minute long.
Oh, your own body.
If you want to get an abortion, get an abortion. If I want to get the vaccine, I get to choose. So you can't force, if I can't force you to get an abortion, you shouldn't be able to force me to get
Because it's not about you. It's about people you interact with. And that's the social contract of public health.
We don't even know if the vaccine worked or not at the time.
Yes, that's what the trials are. Dude, that's why these trials, are you missing data out there?
But let me ask you a question. Are we saying only one type of scientists are right?
No, we're saying that the system in place.
The 16,000 that signed that.
No. The system in place to test vaccines.
Yeah.
There's an entire...
Neil deGrasse Tyson faced intense scrutiny during an interview with Patrick Bet-David, where Tyson's defense of vaccine mandates and the scientific establishment clashed with Bet-David's calm, logical questioning.
System that's in place. That with review boards and all of this.
And the average...
That's in place. Now you can say, what you can say is, I have a better idea than all these review boards and all these agencies and the CDC. I have a better idea. Here's what you should do. And that would have made everything better. Okay, you can put forth that idea. But what I'm saying is, in a case where you can contaminate someone else, it's not about you. It's about the collective
You're assuming.
Health.
You're assuming because somebody can take the vaccine, won't get COVID, which, by the way, I don't need to play the clips for you to see it, where everybody said, hey, if you get it, you're not going to get, if you take the vaccine, you're not going to get a Rachel Maddow, Joe Biden. I can give you Fauci. I can give you, and you've seen these clips before. It's not like you've never seen it before.
Yeah, what happened
They were wrong.
Hold on. So, the strain evolved.
Man, there's so much more of that, but I mean, Tyson basically gets demolished. He in essence demolishes himself. Patrick's a great interviewer. He wasn't trying to get him. He was actually just laying out some facts there. But I want to start with something he said towards the end there. There's a system in place. And what that made me think is, Tyson is also a very well-known atheist. And I believe that people have to believe in something one way or another. So once he took away any belief system as an atheist, he had to believe in the system. So he had to believe that the trials and the tests and the things that the scientists and experts said were going to work, because it is in human nature to believe something. If you'd like more sane takes on our insane world, check out our direct message clips playlist. And if you want to watch more full episodes of our live roundtables, watch our roundtables playlist. They're both right over here. And to get notified of all future videos, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell.
Tyson's heated responses revealed his deep trust in the system, contrasting with Bet David's challenge to mainstream narratives, sparking widespread debate.
I miss white conservatives. I would much rather a Trump supporter tell me to go back to India than a Hillary supporter tell me she just got back from India. On a spiritual journey. Why don't you find yourself out of this conversation? How about that? Bring back the racist guy. At least I don't gotta pretend to like this motherfucker, is it? I hate it, man. White guilt is just so annoying. These white liberals, watching them try to relate to every minority is embarrassing. I'm embarrassed for you. Oh my God, you're from Mexico? I was just there for Dia de los Muertos. Oh my God, I always get, oh my God, you're Indian? Oh, I just love Indian food. I just love Indian food. Let me tell you something. No, you don't. All right, that stuff at the restaurants is not Indian food. That's Indian cuisine.
White liberals often display a performative form of empathy that can feel more racist than outright bigotry. Unlike conservatives who are direct, liberals may unintentionally condescend by attempting to relate superficially to minority experiences.
Indian food? Potatoes and poverty. That's what we're eating. That's the menu right there. We're not having chicken tikka masala on a Thursday. I don't know what makes you think we got it like that, but it's not. I honestly think white liberals are more racist. I'm serious, man. Everybody complains about cultural appropriation or whatever it's called. You know who's never gonna appropriate? Rednecks. I grew up in Texas, man. I never had some cowboy coming to me like, hey, let me tell you something, boy. Let's go get some chai tea lattes, man. I'll tell you what, I fucking love me a chai tea latte, boy. God damn. Throw a little turmeric in that bitch. Woo-wee. I tell you what, boy. Motherfucking namaste, man. I tell you what. They're worse, man. It's just a lot. It's just a lot.
Their behavior can be embarrassing as it highlights their lack of genuine understanding and cultural awareness.
Women's Day to visit my old University of Glasgow and banged on about women's rights. This is the woman who just literally lost her job for allowing a male rapist into a female prison. And Sir Keir Starmer, who's leader of the opposition Labour Party here, was talking about protections for women in Parliament today, and yet he refuses to say what a woman is. Where are we with this? How has it come that leaders of parties in countries like the UK, and we see a lot of it in America as well, just won't say what a woman is?
Well, first of all, I have to apologize to you because all of this wokeness originates here in the United States of America, and then we export it to you in the UK.
Yes, you're to blame.
So we started this really in America. Yes, we are. You know, the wokeness starts here, and then it, of course, moves over, and now you guys have to deal with it. The world has to deal with it. But I say this, I'm proud to celebrate International Women's Day because I know what a woman is. So I would say if you don't know what a woman is, you don't get to celebrate it. You don't get to pretend to be a feminist when it's helpful to you or helpful to your political narrative. You have to be able to define define what a woman is. This is all a farce. They are seeking to erase women, and this is the radical rainbow mafia, as I call it. This is not your average LGBT activist. This is the rainbow mafia section of that radical LGBTQ movement that has made women less than, and then has elevated all of this transgenderism and all of this pick your gender, identify as potato. They have hijacked the women's rights movement, the feminist movement, and actual feminists should be really pissed off about it.
Well, as a feminist, I am. I recently interviewed Angelica, the Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, and I asked him this question, which seems to stump many other leaders. Here's the clip.
In a fiery debate on gender identity, Piers Morgan challenges the logic of limitless self-identification by humorously claiming he could identify as a black lesbian.
We know that Nicola Sturgeon can't answer that. We know Keir Starmer can't answer that. You're the British Prime Minister. What is a woman?
Yeah, of course I know what a woman is. An adult human female.
It's not difficult, is it, Angelica? I mean, that is what a woman is.
I mean, I don't know why you're obsessed with defining it. Like, what is a man? Like, why do we need these arbitrary...
A man is a male adult human. I mean, that's it.
Right, OK, I don't know that we need
these are just biological facts, but they're just facts. They're not arguable points, are they?
But I think we have a right to self-identify, and you said
as
you
what?
Want to...
As what?
If you would like to be a woman, you can identify as a woman. I don't know why there is such an issue around...
We've literally just seen a male rapist use that scam to get himself put into a female prison where he could attack vulnerable women inside a female prison, when even his ex-wife said it was all a scam.
Which is a terrible, very distressing, isolated incident. And I think it's easy to take that and say that means that no one can identify as a woman.
But
and
it's not an isolated incident, though.
But it's
42% of trans-identifying prisoners in prison are in there for sex crimes. There's actually an advantage, evidently, to identifying as a female, because they never identify as male, because somehow male prisons seem less appealing to them. It's really weird. Anyway, but
is it limitless, this self-identity?
It's not totally limitless.
What's the limit?
When you're talking about International Women's Day, I don't know why we take the conversation around International Women's Day and make it about this.
But if anyone...
There's so many benefits.
Right, but if anyone,
according
according to you, can identify as a woman, anyone can, right?
I don't see a problem with...
Just literally put their hand up and say, I'm a woman.
But it's not an easy thing to do, to go out into
Actually,
the world.
It's very easy.
Very easy.
You might think it's easy to say, but to decide to do that, to say
what
this
does
is
doing
who...
it involve?
Whatever that person decides, but to
Does it
go
involve
out into the
makeup?
world and say, I don't identify as perhaps the sex I
So
was
why
born
can't
as.
I
It's not-
identify... OK, why can't I identify as a black lesbian?
Well, firstly, I mean, it was...
I'm serious. I'm serious. If I can identify as anything
Mhm.
without any need to prove I'm actually what that is,
I
why can't I, on International Women's Day, say I'm Piers Morgan?
Morgan argues that the growing trend of allowing individuals to self-identify without any biological basis leads to absurdities, such as male rapists claiming to be women to access female spaces.
female to identify
Then
as a
you are
woman.
wrong, because then I can identify as a fox.
Yeah.
But again, it's
You
a kind
can.
of absurd point.
How many...
Like,
Well, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, Angelica. How many genders are there?
2.
There are 2 genders.
Oh.
Wow. So you don't believe in transgenders at all?
Well, I think there are...
Whoa, hang on. Whoa. There are 2 genders?
Well, it's taught in...
Well, you say, well, you've literally just launched this huge defence of transgenderism. Now you've eradicated it.
I think there's...
If there are 2 genders, you mean male and female, right?
There's gender fluidity. I will...
Fluid between what?
Between what?
Between different identities, and we can choose different
You
identities.
see how difficult this is, though?
But it is difficult, but I think making...
But it's not
there's-
difficult until you make it difficult. You see, the BBC has done teaching videos to 11 and 12-year-olds where they say there are 100 genders. One of them was astrogender, which is an affinity with the stars and the galaxy. My response to that on the last show I did was to say, well, in that case, I identify as a two-spirit penguin. I was then told I was being ridiculous, but I made the same point. The ridiculousness is the BBC teaching kids there are 100 genders. There aren't. It is absurd. Bring back Tommy Lehran, who I imagine is hyperventilating over there in America. Tommy, I mean, look, I don't see why, if it's limitless, I can't just say I'm Piers Morgan, I'm a black lesbian, because that is where limitless self-identity takes us. It means that male rapists can say they're women and get into female prisons. It means I can say I'm a two-spirit penguin or a black lesbian, and why can't I? Because that is where it takes you.
Well, it certainly does, and I think you just had the perfect argument there. It's impossible to define and it's impossible to stand up for because it's a mockery of what actual people are. And furthermore, going back to children, when this happens at a young age, when you start trying to convince kids that they don't know what gender they are, or they're born in the wrong body at 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, that's child abuse. All right? Gender-affirming care wherein you only tell somebody they can be whatever they want to be regardless of their biology at a young age, that is child abuse. It's happening in the UK, it's happening in the US, and this is making room for groomers to groom young people, to confuse the heck out of them, make them not know what they are so that they can take advantage and exploit them. Now, I want to be very clear here. This is not the mainstream LGBTQ movement.
The conversation underscores the controversy surrounding gender identity and the potential dangers it poses to women's rights, with critics like Morgan calling for clearer definitions and boundaries.